So Elon Musk and Donald Trump are at it again, telling big lies and making big promises that they'll never be able to keep. That's the subject of today's video, and check this out.
We are going to conquer the vast frontiers of science, and we are going to lead humanity into space and plant the American flag on the planet Mars and even far beyond.
So sooner or later, I believe the court system will catch up with these guys. And so it's just going to be, talk about efficiency. Destroying a system that was working and then trying to replace it later is inefficient.
So that was Donald Trump promising that we're going to go to Mars and beyond, which is essentially Elon Musk's pet project. Essentially, Musk wants to take your tax dollars, blow it up in the sky, promise you're going to go to Mars. And frankly, this is one big cult. This is the headlines coming out today here. Elon Musk's conflicts of interest are becoming real. And you got this. Musk promises better communication between Republican lawmakers and DOGE. Basically, Musk's plan is to cancel and delete as many government services and agencies as possible. Then either don't replace these things or privatize these things or turn these things into Musk companies to where he can benefit off of your tax dollars. Republicans are actually a bit uneasy at this. And then Musk's plan is to create essentially a bat phone. For real, a bat phone. The basic idea is that, it's so stupid. The basic idea is that Republicans actually are ticked off at what Musk is doing because he's making changes so quickly. And believe it or not, Republicans actually do represent regular Americans. And when you cancel things like education, VA, Medicaid, this kind of stuff, people get pissed and they start contacting the representatives. I showed you guys in angry town halls. And then essentially they're like, Musk, what are you up to? What are you up to? And so Musk had a meeting with the Republicans recently. And then essentially he's like, hey, we'll have a better line in communication. So effectively, it's going to be a bat phone. Whether or not Musk will actually answer this thing, who knows? You can ask him. But I'll tell you this. They're losing in the courts, and it keeps happening because Musk, he has this grand plans I told you guys before. They're trying to skirt the law as well. And ultimately, the law does catch up with you. So I agree with Bill Nye with this stuff. So this was the headline today. Supreme Court says judge can force Trump administration to pay foreign aid. Remember, Musk took control of the America's checkbook effectively and has been trying to, cut off money, programs, etc. The court just ruled and it was 5-4, so it was a close one. And it was Roberts and Barrett went along with the other three liberal judges and then said, hey, that's Congress money effectively. We don't have the exact reasoning yet, so we'll probably get a decision later. And I'm sure they're still going to fight this in court, so they'll send it back to lower courts also. But that's what's going on is essentially they keep running in, they meaning Trump and Musk keep running into roadblocks into the courts, right? Like you just can't break the law and burn the Constitution all day, every day, even though Musk tends to think that he can. You also got this, they're getting sued yet again. And it's like 100 or so lawsuits. I can't keep track of all of them. And it's just too many to talk about every day. But this one's actually an interesting one because Trump recently gave his speech, right? The one at Congress. And then the lawsuit is using Trump's own words because it's like, dude, we saw you on TV. We saw you say it. And they're suing him with that. So this was the headline here. Lawyers use Trump's speech before Congress in suit against DOGE. So those are really effective when you're using someone's own words. So this is what Trump said. He said, to further combat inflation, we will not only be reducing the cost of energy, but we'll be ending the flagrant waste of taxpayer dollars. And to that end, I have created the brand new Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. Perhaps you've heard of it, which is headed by Elon Musk, who is in the gallery tonight. And then he said, wait, the Musk went, aha. And essentially, they acknowledge that's Musk. They acknowledge that Trump's saying, hey, I created this thing. And basic gist of it then is like, okay, so maybe legally there is no agency. Maybe legally you can't do this kind of stuff. Like, what are you trying to do? And then basically, this matters. And I've talked about this before. Musk classification, like where do you put this guy, what agency, etc., matters because then we need to disclose all of Musk's financial entanglements, Freedom of Information Act, that kind of stuff. And I told you guys before, he's got massive conflicts of interest. Remember, Musk's plan is to delete services that you need, delete agencies that you need, and then figure out ways to profit off said things and privatize it or not replace it at all. Check this out. Bill Nye actually calls this out even further.
Well, Mr. Musk has this company Starlink, and he's proposing that NOAA be supplanted by a private company. And just to the young guys that have gone to work on this, that have gone into the Digital Services Office to destroy or mess up our electronic systems, keep in mind that this is fundamental corruption. It's just corruption when you're trying to monopolize a government service. And say what you will about Woodrow Wilson back in the old days, he was a big anti-monopoly guy. This is trying to undo the robber barons. And so if you read the book about Elon Musk and so on, there's a whole section on his unrealistic goal setting. So he found this weakness in the U.S. government, exploited it as fast as he could, and now it's one thing's leading to another, and he's trying to undo a public service and supplant it with one of his. And this is just good old corruption.
So basically, it's corruption, right? And I do have to mention this, actually, guys, to be perfectly fair. I got my start in college. My first college job was with Bill Nye the Science Guy, which I'm actually really proud of. And I ended up going into more, educational broadcasting, education, these kind of things. And science education, these things are important to me. Usually you don't see Bill Nye get involved so much in politics, but basically he's like, yo, Musk wants to delete our weather satellites, which work really great. Like our weather satellites and weather forecasting is gotten, better over time. Musk wants to delete something that's working and then turn it into his Starlink or whatever. And this is just basically corruption. So I just wanted to mention that because I just personally really like Bill Nye. Plus I like what he's saying and what he's doing recently. And I used to work with him. On top of that, you have to understand that from Musk's point of view, and I understand that some people like Musk, and that's why, I go over both sides of what they're saying. This is Musk 4 hours ago, and this is the kind of stuff that he tweets out. So we're talking about education. So was it panel 1? This country is full of stupid and uneducated people. Then panel 2, wouldn't that mean the Department of Education has failed? And then you got the thinking panel, and then you got, I guess, the blue screen that doesn't work. So this is the logic that you have to argue with. So their argument is that because, America is, stupid and uneducated, then therefore we should get rid of the Department of Education. I would actually make a different argument saying, well, if we're having problems in education, shouldn't we fund it more, not delete it, right? So they're going to say, well, it's failed, therefore get rid of it. I would say, well, if you think it's failing, then we should actually fund it more, which I think is not a crazy thing to say. But again, it depends on what kind of logic that you want to come up with. Here's another one of Musk logic. The level of propaganda elite universities would make North Korea jealous. So this is the kind of logic that Musk and those people like to say all the time. So the basic gist of it is, hey, if you look at educated people, they tend to want more, say, democratic policies or things that benefit everyone, right? And then therefore they think that education then is like North Korea and transforming people into, going more left-leaning. But you could also say, well, the more you become educated, the more that you realize how the system works. So it just depends how you want to view education. I mean, to me, this stuff is like, I'll give you some example, like, the more educated you get, like you just learn about different kinds of people. You learn how to fact check these kind of things. Much of what the Musks and the Trumps do is they gaslight you, meaning they misrepresent things or they get you to question reality. They just flat out lie. And a big part of education is like just learning to read, like learning to identify what's true, what's not true, have critical thinking skills. These are the kind of things that I think that we should all want is education. But again, if you're from the Musk and Trump camp, you don't want people educated because then you can basically fool, trick, and scam people much easier. This is the person that they pointed to their Department of Education head. This is the headlines here. U.S. Department of Education workers decry final mission email as power grab. So this particular person, true story, she was the CEO of a professional wrestling league, as was at the WWF. That was McMahon. Her and her husband, that was Vince McMahon, they had really, really bad scandals. I don't make any joke about this stuff. I think it is, we'll just call it abuse scandals, but it's pretty terrible, to be perfectly frank. And then on top of that, it's a terrible mismatch. Their whole plan, and I'll just tell you basically, is they want to privatize education, and they're going to make the claim that that'll strengthen schools, et cetera, but it's not really the case. What it boils down to is if you remove funding, and they'll say we're going to send it back to the states, meaning that no extra help to you, states, you're on your own. then you'll have essentially some families, which is true, who can afford private education will go to those schools and get tax benefits and stuff like that. And then people who are, say, in a poor public school, because some neighborhoods just don't have great public schools, will get less funding. And it's just hard. I mean, it's just, in their point of view, it's all about winners and losers. If you got money and you can game the system, you're the winner. And if not, you're the loser. Haha, so be it. I just disagree with that kind of system. My opinion, I think we all benefit from a strong public, school system. Education should be free so that, people can get educated, and not everyone's going to have, equal outcomes. Some people are going to be good at some things. Some people are going to be good at other things, but you have to give kids the opportunity. And I'm just a big believer in education, and you can't convince me otherwise. That's the Republican plan, is just to, quote, choice, but ultimately, again, it just turns into taking away money from public education and benefiting private. Not everyone can take advantage of that. And then on top of that, some cities just don't have that many choices. It's not great to weaken public education. But this is Republicans are reporting. They're reporting that, or promoting that they want to take over other countries and stuff like that. Watch this.
We also have a message tonight for the incredible people of Greenland. We strongly support your right to determine your own future. And if you choose, we welcome you into the United States of America. We need Greenland for national security and even international security, and we're working with everybody involved to try and get it. But we need it really for international world security, and I think we're going to get it. One way or the other, we're going to get it.
Continues to call the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, Governor of Canada. I'm curious what he means by that, and if there are any plans that are moving forward with trying to make Canada the 51st state. And I have a follow-up on the economy as well.
Sure. Well, the President put that in his True Social account, or his True Social post earlier today. He feels strongly that it would be very beneficial for the Canadian people to be the 51st state of the United States. They wouldn't be paying for these tariffs. They'd have much lower taxes if they were part of our great country.
So that's their plan, delete education, take over Greenland, take over Canada. It's like, who are these people who watches this crap? I show you these guys. All I have to do every day is just show you what they're saying, and you realize, like, man, it is a bunch of BS and lies coming from them. On top of that, this was actually the big news today. I know there's a lot every day. Veterans Affairs Department plans to cut thousands more jobs as part of Trump's cost-cutting effort. This one's really a lot. It's nearly 80,000 jobs. I don't know, I don't know where all of them going to come from, because it's just so many. And I know actually we have members in our community, because I see people say it, that's like, I have a spouse that works at the VA, or, I work at the VA, these kind of things. And oftentimes people say that they're understaffed. So it's going to depend on, which city or which department that you're in. But, cutting 80,000 jobs is definitely going to have an effect. My understanding of the Trump and Musk plan, again, is to replace you with robots, AI, or in Musk's point of view, he wants to get rid of redundancy in several government things and, stuff. It's like, I have to explain it to someone like Musk, who's frankly an idiot. Sometimes you do want redundancy so that you don't have shutdown of key services that people need. So, for example, I'll just use example of Social Security. You just want to make sure it works. You want to make sure there are fail safes so that, like, you're not just depending on one person or one particular system. Musk thinks differently. He thinks, hey, we got a cost cut. We don't have to worry about so much about safety. And think of it like this way, like in his point of view, like if his cars, are say 91% safe, then 9% are unsafe, but I can get more cars out and make more money. But what happens to the 9% of the people that, get in car crashes? The same way, say, Social Security. Say, for example, we could speed up Social Security, just for example, but maybe it's only 97%, effective. What about the 3% that don't get their money? It's that kind of thinking. I get what they're going for, but for something like Social Security, VA benefits, these kind of things, you don't want that 97%. You really do want 100%, because you're talking about people's lives and livelihoods. So I want to make sure that that's clear on that. And then what they're doing right now is we're also internationally, we're cutting the intel services and support to Ukraine. It just feels like we're moving closer and closer to Russia. That's the headline today. U.S. pauses sharing of intel Ukraine uses for strikes on Russia. And then I guess Russia's becoming more aggressive. This is invading, or however you want to say, I don't know if invade is the right word. We'll just say they're in, we'll put it that way, in and around the UK. So that's kind of pissing off people there. And essentially we're talking about shipping lanes. USA is pulling out, basically, weakening our position. Russia seems to be more emboldened with that. China is as well. And then this is happening. We're pulling away from our allies, pissing off our friends, pissing off our trading partners. That's the Musk and Trump plan. It just doesn't really make sense unless the only way you read it is like, hey, let's just move and be closer to be friends with Russia, who you can't trust, and you can't trust Musk and Trump. That's why you have to call this stuff out all the time. Now, from the Musk-Trump, voter point of view, all they wanted was, hey, lower prices, get my egg prices down, but that's not going to happen as tariffs are coming in. And this is, headlines here. Consumers are already tired of inflation. Tariffs are sending prices higher. It's going to be tough out there the next, couple of years. Right now, this is what we're watching, basically. Keep an eye on the crazy stuff that they're up to because they try to basically, flood the news cycle with so much nonsense. And if you want to go through and fact check every single one that they say, you'd be bogged down with that, and then you lose sight of what they're actually up to. And I say their real key plan is, delete stuff, privatize stuff, profit off stuff, conflicts of interest, right? That's what they're up to. Hide their financial disclosures. That's what Trump and Musk want to do. And ultimately, we got to keep an eye on, like, essentially, where's the money going? And then, unfortunately, though, regular Americans are going to pay the price, literally, with higher prices through the tariffs, and then that money is going to get funneled into Musk and their sovereign wealth fund. So that's what's going on. I want to hear your thoughts, and I'll catch you all in the next video.